Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. Welcome to the podcast Conversations with myself, Shaboobs, Yiddick, and K Dot.
Allah.
So today is the first day we got K Dot with us. Finally, we got K Dot in the building. Yeah. So K Dot, I would love for you to just give a quick rundown on who you are for the humans. Yeah.
Who am I? I am a human, so that makes me part of the species. And I love people. I love being able to advocate and provide resources and empower people to be the best versions of themselves. I love anything that has to do with creativity. I do have a dance background, and I've been out here in LA for 2.5 years.
Amazing. And you are from?
Arizona.
And what did you do in Arizona before you came here?
I did a lot of nonprofit work, and I also danced. I did NBA and WNBA dance teams. Phoenix Suns, Phoenix Mercury. Shout out to y'all. Free BG.
Gang, 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 gang. Come on, Free BG. See? That's real. That's real. You know what I'm talking about? And if you're not up on game and you don't know what Free BG means, learn.
Google it.
Do you know what that means?
No.
Would you like to educate?
Brittany Griner, who actually I was there the year she got drafted to the Mercury. That was like my second or third
She's the
season.
one that's trapped overseas.
In Russia.
Yeah.
She's supposed to serve 9 years for having. It wasn't even like the full thing.
It's like a cartridge pen or something like that. Yeah, it's some ridiculousness going on with that. That's definitely not something that she should be in trouble for.
Absolutely.
As deep as it is, that's
Right.
definitely not what should be
9 years in prison.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, if we weren't on the brink of World War III, then she wouldn't be in jail right now.
Right.
They're utilizing her, in my opinion, they're utilizing her as like a political
Yeah, absolutely.
pawn.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? If it was LeBron, would he be locked up?
That's a great question. That should be like a little poll. Can we do a poll?
Poll. If it was LeBron, would he be locked up?
I mean, you think about it, they would actually, I would almost think that they would also use LeBron because that's a more of a power play.
I don't think that the government would be able to allow that to take place. LeBron, I think, unfortunately, due to the fact that we live in such a capitalist world, LeBron makes way too much money worldwide
For
Russia to be able to keep him. And Brittany Griner doesn't make enough money worldwide for enough people
She's not.
to care.
She's not the economic machine.
That hurts, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Sounds like what? Slavery. Just saying. Which slave to the system of economics,
Yeah.
economy,
Yeah. the financial
capitalism,
system.
Yeah.
which slave is worth more and which slave are they willing to go get?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Dang. Shit got deep! So,
Right off the bat.
right off the bat, damn, you did that.
I mean, yeah.
Free
We could go
BG.
a lot of different tangents on that, but
Absolutely. So yeah, man. So how was that? How was working in the NBA compared to now being in Los Angeles and WNBA, because it does differ.
it does. So I did 5 seasons with the WNBA and 4 seasons with the NBA. And I always tell people that the WNBA was a lot more fun for me in the aspect of like the fans were so diehard. Like there were so many people there that have been there since the beginning of the WNBA.
Oh wow.
There's so much history. There's so much tradition and family. Like Cheryl Miller was like a dope coach. And
Shouts out who?
Cheryl Miller.
A little louder.
Cheryl Miller.
Say it one more time for the people.
Cheryl Miller, people. Yeah, and just like it was just a lot more family oriented, I feel like. And with Suns, there was a lot more opportunities to be in the community. Like we did both on both teams. We had like appearances where we'd go out to like schools or, you know, the grocery store or whatever. Suns, we had more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like for instance, we got to do the celebrity shootout. We were part of the entertainment team for that for 3 years. So I got to meet Chris Brown and Common and like anybody that was a part of that, you know. And there was obviously more fans there. But unfortunately, when I was dancing, we were not that great of a team. So like our fans really sucked. There would be more fans at like when we played LA or Miami for the other team as opposed to our team. But both organizations, because they work hand in hand together, were extremely helpful in helping me build my confidence and like being an overall performer, because we didn't just dance, we were game entertainment, so we were interacting with the fans. Like I said, we'd go out into the community, me even being able to speak, and sometimes I would host games, so I'm like talking in front of thousands of people in an arena, and just being able to interact with all kinds of people. So it was very, very memorable, very fun. I have lifelong friends and lifelong connections from dancing with both of those entities.
Amazing. Do you have any questions about any of that?
I just wanted to hear the second part that you asked about. Now, how did that compare to LA when you got here?
Oh, okay. So, how was that compared to here? So I did take a long hiatus between dancing for those teams and then coming here. And now that I'm here and actually involved in the community, I'm in a dance training. It's different. Like arena style is different. Yeah. Just like there is choreography, there's showcase, what you do for a video versus like for the arena, everything has to be big. It's all about performance quality and
you're also
cleanliness.
Thinking 360.
Exactly, right? Yeah. As opposed to if I'm going to like do a lot of fast feet. So there'd be like, there's a lot of dope choreographers out here that wouldn't be able to set something on an NBA dance team because it just wouldn't translate, you know? And so getting out here was very humbling. And it was very hard for multiple reasons, because I'm older, I hadn't been dancing, the style's different. It's like having to dust off the things from the shelves that have been sitting for a long time. So it's different in the aspect of texture, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more... What am I thinking to say? Like, there's so many talented people out here, you know? And so, like, the push is just, like, a lot harder.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
There's still their own, like, toughness to the NBA, WNBA world. I mean, things are changing completely now, but, like, those are similar things, I guess. Like, your look counts, not just your dancing. Right. And more so in the NBA, WNBA, but that's the way it used to be. It's changing now, but yeah.
Absolutely. Amazing. Hell yeah. So, topic one,
let's get it.
Let's go, yeah? Topic one. Today's going to be an interesting one due to the fact that this is a female and male dynamic, yeah? So, I don't want to get on here and talk to you all about who you should be, what you should do, or how you should act. I would rather have honest conversations. That's why this is called what, Shaboobs?
Conversations.
In front of you all, and let you walk away with tidbits so you can redefine how you would like to have your perspective in the world. Yes, this is not to tell you who to be or how to be. Nonetheless, it is 3 different individuals with 3 different upbringings, 3 different journeys, 3 different paths, 3 different mind frames. And today, we're going to discuss a few different things. But first, we're going to talk about accountability. Yes? What does accountability look like? What is it to you? And can the definition differ? Yes? Yeah?
Yeah.
Amazing. So I think first what I want to start with is, let's pull it up, yeah? Let's pull up I am receiving a phone call from Denver, Colorado at the moment that I cannot answer because we're here.
We're filming.
Does anybody have their phone on them? And they can look up the actual definition of accountability.
Let's see who gets it first, Shaboobs. Definition.
The fact or condition of being accountable, responsibility. That was the word I was going to use to describe it as responsibility. But yeah, the fact or condition of being accountable, otherwise responsibility.
So that is the definition of. Yes? Do you have something different as a definition of?
Well, I was going to see if there's anything a little bit more detailed. Yeah. Let's see. What is a good definition for accountability? Accountability is an assurance that an individual or an organization will be evaluated on their performance or behavior related to something for which they are responsible.
Say that one more again.
Accountability is an assurance that an individual or an organization will be evaluated on their performance or behavior related to something for which they are responsible.
Amazing. So let's start with Shaboobs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What, now that you've heard the actual definition, what is accountability to you? Where does it show up in your life? And what's one thing that you are lacking accountability in?
Bam, boom.
I mean, okay, so accountability, in both definitions, the short version and the more extended one, responsibility or responsible is still in there. And I think that's kind of the key word or key thought for accountability, is that you're responsible for something. I don't really think that there's much else about it. It's just like handling responsibilities. I think how you go about that is up to each individual. I mean, essentially everyone still has the same responsibilities. You have to survive, you have to pay rent, you have to work, you have to pay for all the things you have to do and handle yourself. I think where people falter on accountability, even with myself, is that we don't often reflect on what our behaviors or our actions did in situations. Oftentimes it's, especially if I'm ever listening to certain people when they talk about their problems, I know that when they talk about the things that happen to them, they always omit their part of it. And I'm like, you're not taking accountability for the fact that that happened. Yeah, that happened because you did this or you did something.
Yeah.
And I think even for myself, that was probably one of the hardest things to take accountability for. And I even mentioned this before. One of my hardships is that I'm the baby of my family. So that dynamic of me being kind of taken care of is extended into my adult life. And it has made it hard for me at times growing up to really reflect on the fact that I'm here because of my own choices and decisions, and I have to be responsible. I can't sit here and wait for my mom or my older brother or call on somebody, because that was always the thing. When you're the baby, everyone tries to take care of you, and everyone's well-intentioned, but the unfortunate thing is it makes it difficult to really understand the value of accountability and having your own responsibility. I think the only reason why I love dance so much is that when I came into this world, I felt very accountable for everything that came to me, because I worked so damn hard for it. I was at the studios, I was at every event, I was everywhere you can think of, driving between San Diego, LA, Bay Area. I was at everything all the time. I would extend my services just to get into the room. So everything that came towards me, I felt great and accountable for it because I worked really hard for it. That didn't really extend for myself outside of dance, because dance was that thing that could elevate that. I didn't consciously think about the rest of life like that. My hope was always like, we get really good in this thing, and if this thing takes off, we'll make some money that can help do all these other things. And ideally, money always comes down to my lack of responsibility, not having enough of it. But that comes back to the fact that I'm not taking accountability for not doing more.
I was taking notes.
Yeah,
I think I'm not listening.
No, for sure.
Notes so I can come back and discuss.
That's my long-winded talk on accountability.
Amazing. So where do you lack accountability now as a man at the age of
35?
At 35, where do you lack accountability? Large or small?
I mean, the biggest issue is always coming down to finances. My accountability on my finances is the best, because I think that what I've done in the last 4 or 5 years of taking this path of kind of being the videographer, I was doing something that I was capable of, but it wasn't necessarily my calling or the thing that I am best at. But I did it because it was necessary, I was capable, and it was safe. I could sit at home and I can work at my own leisure, do whatever, but I was always being distracted. I'm never really getting the work done as it should be getting done. And I don't have that same patience for that as I do towards dance or hosting or being more involved with something. Like editing is a very, very specific type of energy and focus that you have to have. And I can pull into it every once in a while, but that's sitting by yourself and doing it. I don't have the greatest accountability because I do know that I do get distracted, or sometimes it feels like pulling teeth just to get through an edit.
Yeah.
And that has become the hardest part because it's like the last few years I've been saying, this is what I want to do. To get to this point now to be like, no, I don't think that's the thing I want to do. I don't think that I'm suited for it. Not to say that I can't do it. I found out I'm capable. I can sit and I can edit, but am I great at it? I don't really think so.
Okay.
I think that I've garnered a skill set in it, and I think that it helps me in the sense that I can collaborate with a lot of different people on different levels. I can sit and write a script with somebody. I can be in production. I can be hands-on set. I can be the video. I can go into post-production and sit there and go through the edits with another person. I can help out. I can give tips and tricks. But for me to be the solo person doing it, that's not
your bag.
No. And I was trying to make that my thing because I was just kind of scared to deal with people. Realizing that, like, okay, you're not going to be able to handle your own responsibilities this way because you're failing at it. Like, it's the things that stack up, and then it becomes very reasonable excuses as to why I can't do things, or why I don't want to do things, or why I don't want to spend money. I'm like, I still have, besides bills, I still have to finish all these other things. And between taking care of myself, with my own health, going to the gym, being at least being in shape, having any kinds of relationships, you feel like time is very short. So it's easy to fall on the excuses of it. But I think the more now that I've realized the environments I need to be in, it helps me find a better way to be more responsible and actually be able to get it done. Because again, me sitting at home trying to work on all these edits is not me.
Absolutely.
And it's taken a very long time for me to admit that, because I felt like I said it for the longest time. I kept telling everybody, I'm like, I want to be a director or an editor, but emphasis on the editing.
It's not
No,
fixed, yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Amazing. I mean, I have seen your journey. Yeah, since when you used to drive from San Diego to LA to the Bay, I've witnessed a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just commend you for taking accountability for yourself over and over and over and over again. Yeah, just man to man, I commend you.
I appreciate it.
What I mean? Before I move on to you and ask you, you said that it was easier, or wasn't easier, but your thought process is because you can sit and you can hide and you can be just in that, right? So I'm reading a book right now called Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called The Wake Up Warrior.
Yeah.
I've sent it to you, yeah? In that book, I just got through like chapter 3, so I'm not even like hella deep into it, but it's already life-changing. Like, swear, bro, already life-changing. Wow. Yeah? But it talks about the one-dimensional man. And how, like, a lot of us as men, and you can chime in as a woman and let me know if, like, you feel women are this way or not, because I'm not a woman, and
right,
unless you got something to tell me. You know? So the one-dimensional man, it's like we get really great at one area of our life, and we suck in everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get really great at business, so we have money flowing, but spiritually we're broken, or emotionally we're broken, or all of these other things. I'm telling you, like that conversation we had. I just started reading the Warrior book yesterday. Like on the bus going to set. Boom. Yeah, we had to take a shuttle 2.5 hours, so I read the whole time. Everything we talked about the other day. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm
gonna add that to my list.
Do you believe? Not do you believe? I believe that you've cultivated yourself to be more than a one-dimensional man. And maybe that's why this journey has taken the path that it's taken. Because you have sat down and said, okay, I want to take accountability for myself when it comes to my relationships with women and friends. You have said, I want to take accountability to myself when it comes to my relationship with substance abuse. You have said, let me take accountability when it comes to me, my family dynamic, my brother. You have said, let me take accountability when it comes to like how I walk through this earth as a man. You've taken accountability in so many different areas that I think that because you are more than a one-dimensional man, it takes longer for you to come upon who you're supposed to be. And I think people choose a human to be, and then they chase that human down, never actually being themselves.
Right.
And then they end up at 35, or they end up at 45 or 55 or 65, lonely, upset, alcoholic, drug addict, gambler, self-abuser, all of these things based off the fact that they're only one-dimensional and everything else is suffering, and they're not willing to look at themselves in the mirror and say, holy fuck, I need to take accountability for all of these other areas.
Right.
Yeah. So that book, bro, wow. Yeah. So I would just say dive in. Yeah. Or when I'm finished, I'm giving it to you. It's so fucking good.
I feel like women are the opposite.
Okay.
In a general sense, obviously there's no one set rule, but I feel like because our nature is to be nurturers and helpmates, like we're always looking to help other people, and so our attention is dispersed, and it's hard to hone in on one thing. And I know that speaking for myself, and we're talking like even transitioning into accountability, that's something that I've had to take a huge shift in my healing process, and as growing as an adult, as a woman, is being accountable for the decisions that I make, instead of allowing, just because I've been a victim at some point in my life, not allowing that mentality to like keep going.
Right.
And I didn't realize how subconscious it was, right? To like put so much emphasis and blame on other people, not taking away from what people do, because it does influence you, but ultimately like the only thing that we can control and that we are truly responsible and accountable for is ourselves, which is so hard for somebody like me, because
especially if you've been wronged and taken advantage of. It's like that something happened to me, that's not my fault. Why that person should be punished for whatever. But I mean, not to say that someone takes accountability in for what people do to them, but it's
sometimes
hard.
we do.
Sometimes we do. I mean, I think for most cases, with women, they're dealing with a lot of unwanted attention and people making
unwanted noise.
Right. And even going as far as to make people feel uncomfortable. It's not to say that the women call for that, but it's like it is hard to take accountability for yourself in all situations, because essentially it's always like if we think victim, then we're stuck and trapped in that mindset. It's not to say that it's like, okay, I'm taking accountability for myself, let me just not go here where I know these people are. Or if somebody bothers, we put the headphones on, we call somebody, and we make sure that we feel safe. But it's for sure like it's definitely difficult to want to like claim any accountability, especially if there's a wrongdoing done to you. You're like, wait, what? This person did something to me.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's differentiating between not taking accountability for somebody else's actions in what something has been done to you, but more so, what are you going to do with it? Right?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, this happened to me. And there's obviously, and especially because when I say about like passionate about people and like healing and becoming their best selves, is because the more that I've studied trauma, it's deeper than we think, right? So there's a variety of different levels to how traumatic something is, but it literally gets stuck in your body and it's frozen. So if you don't take time to deal with that, it's really hard to see outside of yourself. So then it's hard to take accountability and see that there is an actual opportunity for you to do something different. So just because this happened to you doesn't mean it's the whole like nature versus nurture thing, which I personally fall into the category of believing it's in the middle. Like you can't deny that where you are, the people that you're around have some kind of effect on you. But ultimately, you have the power and the authority to make a decision on what you're going to do moving forward. And so that's been something that I think for me personally when it comes to accountability, because when it's the responsibility part is saying, I'm not going to allow my life to be dictated on everybody else. Taking accountability is being responsible for what God has given you and then playing those cards, right? Like a lot of people have said like you can't choose the cards that you're dealt, but you can choose how you play them. Right. So it's like, and that's really hard for me because I would be like, why is this the deck? You know, like I focus so much. I've in the past and even still sometimes focus so much. Actually, I was just having this conversation last night, like the way things are, right? Accepting the way things are. But I'm like, but it's not supposed to be like that. And I feel like there's a part that we are able to challenge things because nothing changes if nobody challenges it, right?
Of course.
But at the same time, there is a system that has to be worked in some type of way. And with accountability, another example I'll give, going back to when we talked about like my going from MBA and then out here in LA, I am struggling in the dance training that I'm in. Like the first month I thought about.
Shouts out who?
Kalani Marks.
Shouts out who?
Shout out to Kalani Marks.
Roll louder for the people in the back.
Super grateful for him and the blessing of just like who he is. He's a phenomenal teacher. And he really cares about people and the overall, like not just your dancing, but just like, it's very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And I can go into a bunch of different tangents, but basically something when it comes to accountability was like the first month that I was in there, I thought about quitting like every single time. Cause I'm like, fuck, like the things that I'm telling myself in my mind is like, you're too old, you know, you've danced professionally already, but you're looking like this, right? And so like having to like tap into my mentality, and then really thinking about something that he said that like was really a game shifter for me was like, he's like, how long have you been dancing? Do you look like how long you've been dancing? And for me, it's like, okay, well, I've been dancing for 20 years. Honestly, I don't feel like I look like I've been dancing for 20 years. Yeah. And why is that? And it's so funny because it's like, I've had the blessing to be a teacher, and I'm so passionate about other people. Yeah. Which goes back to when you were talking about focuses and stuff. But when I had to really sit with myself, when God like took me away from everything and I had to sit with myself, I realized that I wasn't fully embodying the things that I was teaching for myself. Right. Mm-hmm. And so one of the stories I used to say is which is how I got KDOTEE. I met some B-boys back in 2008 at the Dream Center in Phoenix. And they basically, it was like this battle, and I thought I could crump or whatever. But they came up to me and they were like, yo, if you teach us choreography, we'll teach you how to break. And I was like, okay, dope. So that's when I first learned about like the history of hip hop, what was really going on, the basics of breaking. And I lived in Mesa. The place was like in West Side Phoenix. So it was like 45-minute drive or whatever. But I would go and they would teach me. And after a while, I was like, oh, that's too far. I was like more concerned about like going out at the time. Like I was a socialite. I was always out. And I stopped doing that. And I was like, damn, like I wonder what kind of dancer I would have been had I continued to take full advantage of that blessing. Like they were training me for free. You know what I mean? And like I could have been a B-girl. I could have learned how to pop really well, like more than the little bit that I know. Right. And even though I was a professional dancer and there's a certain aspect to it, like, you know, you have to go to rehearsals, you have to practice your performance quality and all that, I wasn't training. Like I was a dance major for a little bit in junior college. So that was training. But outside of that, I wasn't going in as hard as I could. Right. And so that's something that I've had to take accountability as far as like my gifting and talent on where I've lacked is because I wasn't training like everybody else. Like the 10,000 hours rule, like the intentionality. Another good book that I'm just almost done with is Outliers. Like the different things that play into your success comes from it taking accountability of the resources given to you and like maximizing on that. Yep. So my dancing,
Can you say that one more time?
Is taking accountability of maximizing on the resources that are given to you. Mm-hmm. And so with my dancing, it's that I didn't, in the different time frames, I never took full advantage of those opportunities. And so now it's showing in this area. But now I have, another shift is that instead of focusing so much on what I didn't do, it's like, okay, but now you have this blessing of being in this space with all these phenomenal people and a great present now. Yeah. So like stop focusing so much on that and just be here right now while you still have a capable body.
How are you doing that?
How am I doing that?
How are you taking accountability for it now?
Really being intentional with my mindset. So, and just showing up. Because like I said, I wanted to quit so many times. It would be so easy to quit. Yeah. But like, and I'm a very sensitive person. So like waterworks are easy for me to happen. And then like in class, when I just say get in my head, is being like, okay, you're getting in your head. Take a moment if you need to. Let the tears drop a little bit if you need to, but stay in it. press through the discomfort, press through this mentality. So showing up, I think, is a huge thing for me. Continuing to commit to that. It's like I'm not going to allow myself to quit before I even get to the edge of where I can be, and then also doing the extra things like going to sessions. My church, they've been really dope at allowing us to use their space so that we can have sessions every Thursday night.
Shouts out what church?
Fearless LA. Come see us 9 or 11 a.m. on Sundays. No, but like even that, it's like, here's this dope space that they're letting me use. Yeah. So use it.
Yeah.
Invite people, have these different things, go to these shows, go support people, like show up. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
Amazing. Hell yeah. Dope. Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You said taking advantage of the resources that you have. Very interesting choice of words, in my opinion. Yeah. I think being minorities.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you grow up under a financial line or above?
Medium.
Medium.
Very suburbs.
Suburbs. Okay. I would say under a financial line, but not like deep East Oakland. Yeah. I'm not in, I'm talking about, it's not like 100 block deep East Oakland. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Technically, we're both from like the same area code, but we're the opposite ends.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm from Fairfield. He's from
Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa. Yeah. And it's just, he's more wine country.
Yeah. I mean, Santa Rosa is very much, the whole like Sonoma County is very suburban, very middle class.
It's very headed towards Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Maybe now. I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Modesto is kind of like a Santa Rosa. It's very, you know what I mean? So, in my opinion, yeah. Because Breaking Bad wasn't a negative. He wasn't in a negative ecosystem.
No.
He was just, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Pushing dope.
Right.
But his ecosystem wasn't negative. Yeah, it still had family units. They still had nice homes.
Yeah.
I think where a lot of minorities miss out on an opportunity is by taking accountability for the resources that they do have.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the hardest thing. I think talking about earlier is one of the hardest things is really being resourceful. And I mentioned this even to Antoine's training session. It's like somebody had mentioned like, I don't have the resources, and I'm like, your mission in life is to be resourceful. Like it's figuring it out. Nobody really had anything until they figured out how to do it. You look it up, you go find, start with where you can with what you have.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're not always gonna have the resources, but your resourcefulness allows you to at least maybe get in the door.
Correct.
Or put your foot in the
Correct.
thing. Like if it comes to having to use the phone to start that's your resourcefulness.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
Sasha B, DJ Sasha B.
Boom.
I witnessed her move away from Los Angeles, move back to Los Angeles, say, without a job, everything, say, I want to be a DJ. She grabbed her phone and she learned how to DJ on her phone.
And that's something that for us as a generation have to take accountability for, is that we do not have the same restrictions as a lot of other generations.
Correct.
More
Yeah.
than so than ever, because you can literally almost YouTube everything.
Correct.
It may not be the most efficient as far as like you'd rather be in person,
Yeah.
but we do have overall a lot more access to things.
So shouts out YouTube University. I just wanted to, but bring up the fact that like as minorities, I think that we have to really look into the resources that are around us. Like Jay-Z sold drugs and then he sold records.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
think
think because it is unfortunate that minorities definitely deal with more, but I think if you're to look at many immigrants that do make it and make whatever you deem as successful, most people that are successful really had to like take charge and become resourceful.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like most of them, you really look up anybody who's like made it, they pay for the things themselves. They build it themselves. They have to do it themselves because nobody else understood it, believed it, or wanted to invest in it. So you have to take it upon yourself to do it. It's just, again, it goes down to the accountability, your level of resourcefulness. Like, okay, we have to work. Well, what work do we have to do?
Correct.
How can we make money these days?
Correct.
Obviously, now, if you've got this in a car, you can at least you have options. So it's understanding that like this isn't just entertainment. This isn't just distraction. This
Correct.
is you're a resource to utilize it. But it is the hardest thing, because I think when you grow up in a certain way, you look at all the things you don't have. You look at how hard it is. You look at what everybody else has, and it's hard to be like, yeah, I have the power in me to make all this happen, when you see it kind of just given or be around you.
Yep.
But it is understanding that mindset to be like, you are responsible for your life. You can get up, go out, do work a job, put yourself in the places that you need to be in. I think a lot of us live a very reactive life, and we just like slide into our decisions and things that we're doing without any real conscious thought, and then we get trapped to feel like, man, we're in our 30s.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I think something else tapping into that is, once you figure out the resources, I'm huge advocate for this, is going back and giving the resources and helping other people, right?
Absolutely.
Like I have a friend that I just met, producer, and he said that his story, and I'm sure everybody has a different story, but he said he's like one of the only young black men in the room, in these rooms, and he got to where he was because he went and like, read certain things, blah, 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 whatever. But then he asked the people, and he said that for him, in his experience, the people that were also minorities weren't helping, because they had this like
competition mindset.
Like there can only be one of us or whatever. And he said that it was actually the white people that he reached out to that helped him. And so I think that needs, and I see it shifting, but I think that's something that needs to be more emphasized in communities of color, is this idea of like, yo, really, like, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know
and
what I
we're
mean?
all in this together. Like,
Absolutely.
we're all in the suffering. We're in the trenches. We're in it together. There's enough for all of us to be happy and fulfilled.
Absolutely. Okay. Before we move on from accountability,
Yeah.
yes, do either of you have a question for me when it comes to accountability?
The same questions. Yeah.
Well, I asked separate questions.
Did you? Oh, you're right.
Because you kind of like, you took a conversation and you transitioned in, so then I just asked off of your conversation. So do you have any particulars?
Okay, I would say, how has accountability changed for you? Like the understanding of it from when you were younger, like 21 and younger, as opposed to 21 and older.
Absolutely. I think 21 and younger, accountability looked like jail and prison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what accountability was in my brain. Yeah, like, you're a good person if you ain't going to jail and prison.
Yeah.
And even the people that are in jail and prison are good people. Nonetheless, that's where they're taking accountability for their negative actions.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what accountability was for me.
Wow.
Other than that, it's like, move through this life, and as long as you don't wrong nobody, you're not a bad person. Yeah. What you don't know about wronging people is that you can be wrong even when you are right.
Yeah.
And that's what's changed now that I'm an adult.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now I'm more willing to take accountability for my actions when somebody may feel I'm wrong, even if I feel I'm right. Now, with that being said, I will tell them I take accountability for my actions. That does not mean I apologize for your feelings being hurt.
Right. You're just bringing acknowledgement and awareness that
if I know I did what I did, and I did that, and I was okay when I did it, I was okay when I did it.
Right.
So I'm not going to turn around and be like, oh my God, I'm not okay when I did it anymore. No,
Yeah.
I was okay when I did it, and I knew what I was doing. And at the end of the day, I think this is where I'm at, because it's changed so drastically because my brother died too, right? So like 21 and younger, and then 21 and older, and then post David's passing. Yeah? So things have shifted yet again this year after my brother passed, because he was here.
Right.
He was here, and then 3 weeks later, he wasn't here. In any argument, any BS that really isn't life changing, you know what I mean? I now want to take accountability for not allowing that shit in my life.
Okay.
So I think that's where I'm at with accountability now. Yeah, like, yes, I'll take accountability for my actions, no doubt, but I'm also going to take accountability for getting people out of my life when I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I
being
will
more
take
intentional.
full accountability to say, I'm hella okay with not being your friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have a hard time to do that. not a hard time to do that. I have had a hard time doing so due to the fact that my dad was in prison when I was a kid.
Right.
So like my dad was in prison when I was a kid. I just called my dad like a week ago. I was like, Pops, like, why didn't Mom never bring me to see you when you was in jail? He said, because I would have broke down and I couldn't handle that. He was like, that's on me, son. I would not have been able to handle that, and it would have drove me fucking crazy for my kids to see me behind that glass.
Right.
Yeah. I respect the man for it. Absolutely. It has, because I've loved my father through his trials and tribulations, it has created a space in me where I'm willing to offer empathy and compassion.
Right.
I'm now, as an adult, understanding that that's a willing component,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
not a mandatory
No.
component.
Yeah.
I do not have
No.
to offer empathy. I do
You
not
can't,
have to
and you
offer.
can't force it. There's no way to force genuine empathy.
Correct. But we try sometimes because
Right. We
good
do.
boys
We
don't
do.
make good men. Or good boys don't make great men.
Yeah.
We try to, I've told you about that, right?
Yeah.
So good boys don't make great men. I'll say it again. Good boys do not make great men. One of the reasons is we will force what isn't right because we think it makes us a good boy. But as a great man, we can't force things. We have to stand as the man that we are and accept who we are in this world and the tribe that finds us. Yeah? And I'm now okay holding myself accountable to pushing energies out of my life that do not serve me.
So what's your biggest struggle with accountability now?
Finding a woman that I love. Because I don't know where. No, it's not the thing. My biggest struggle with accountability now when it comes to finding a woman that I love is because I'm not putting myself out in the world to find a woman. Because I'm holding myself accountable to becoming the man that I want to become. And I truly believe that if you walk like a god, your goddess will find you. Yeah? Goddess, not godass. Yeah? Goddess. Yeah? Your goddess will find you. Yeah? And I think that right now it's a struggle for me because there is false pleasure, like masturbation. You know what I mean? Like, dopamine release, boom. You know what I mean?
Easy, quick.
Correct. So not choosing that. Man, I'm in the gym. I'll talk about a specific young lady. I'm in the gym, baby being here, cheeks busting. Yeah? Boom. Yeah? Shorts up. And I'm like, well, Jesus. Yeah? Like, Meg the Stallion, this your cousin. Yeah?
Was it real?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's Asian.
Wait.
Exactly. I was like, well, so that's an oddity in itself. And I'm talking about like small waist, thick frame, 5'0". Yeah, like that's an oddity in itself. And I'm not talking about fluffy thick. I'm talking about tight thick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different kind. Sorry, I'm talking about whatever. Yeah, it's a different kind. So I'm like, well, goodness. And when you're not indulging in false pleasures, you're gonna be like, shoot. You know what I mean? Because like it's like the moment that you choose not to drink alcohol and then you go into the liquor store.
Right. Or trying not to have sugar.
Yeah, everything is sugar. You're like cookies.
Yeah.
So I would say that, bro. Like just holding myself accountable to a standard because like I can masturbate with no actual consequence, right? But in reality, there is a consequence.
Right.
Yeah, in the way that I view women and the way that I view myself.
Right.
I could.
And just the waste of the time and energy.
Boom. I could have a young lady that, we set clear-cut boundaries with, and we sleeping with each other on a regular basis, but not having like an intimate relationship. But that's going to have a negative effect on me. But in reality, there's no negative effect. Right. It's not like drugs. It's not like I'm shooting heroin.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't really see or know the side effects of it. It's
until later. Yeah. So I think holding myself accountable to not slipping into who I've been in the past when it comes to false pleasures.
Yeah.
If I can get you to expand on that a little bit, because I've heard a lot of men say that they truly believe that there is no effect of what you're saying, like just sleeping with a bunch of women.
Oh, absolutely.
That it's just a man thing that they can, have no feelings.
To and with. Let's go. To and with. Yeah. To and with. Are you sleeping? No, not sleeping. Are you having sex to the body or with the woman? There's a big difference.
Right.
Yeah? This young lady I'm talking about that I see in the gym, she's made an impression, but I would only be sleeping to the body.
Right.
Or having sex to the body, I should say. right? You see, I didn't say anything about her personality.
Right.
You know what I mean? At all. All I've said is, wow, great vessel. Yeah? But what happens when you buy a nice car without an engine? You're not going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I haven't taken the time out to figure out what her engine is. So I would only be having sex to the body. And when you do something like that, you disconnect from your vessel.
Yeah.
How so?
Because you're just doing it for the pleasure. It's kind of like people just addicted to pleasure, like having sex. That the orgasm is what they want, and that's all they're focused on. It's just physical pleasure. And I think that the negative consequences of that is that the more that you do it without conscious intention or connecting with somebody, the less or the harder it is to have a deeper connection down the line. And I think that that's the big issue for it, is that a lot, because it,
You felt it.
all that,
I did, because they try to say it doesn't, and I'm like, okay.
I know we want to say it doesn't, and I understand it, especially coming from a guy when you're young. It's like, it doesn't
But that
feel
just
like
is
anything.
lacking accountability.
It is. And you're not giving your stance the opportunity to really invest in something and grow in something. But we live in a society that sells sex and sells the next thing and is always flaunting something in your face that's what you think you have to go for. And it's perpetuated everywhere. But the crazy irony is that nobody sees that none of these people that are constantly having sex like that are really having happy lives.
Yeah.
They're not. So they're spending their money. They're
Is your
trying to
mic
get attention.
Because I want to make sure people are hearing what you say.
Yeah, we solid.
Yeah, but so it's people really don't understand that, like, those little things become habits, and if you're not like really investing into those relationships and you're just making it surface level where it's just physical, then it does make it harder for you to build that down the line, whether your own insecurities will say this is weird and I don't want to do it, or you just don't have the practice on being a good man. Like, that's like the issue you have was that I'm trying to be this person. Most people don't want to be that person. They just want to do the thing that feels good and is pleasurable.
Yeah.
We live in a society where all we do is chase happiness and avoid pain.
Yeah.
And sexual conquest and orgasm is like the highest form that a human can get of that pleasure by itself without taking a drug. So everybody's always reaching for that thing, not knowing that, you know, if you're not practicing it wisely, it's hollow.
Well, I mean, you got to think, right? Like, when you're having orgasms without intimacy, it's not orgasmic.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's
like,
why I say
you're
it's
not
hollow,
even-
because it's like you could have it, but I think most people can attest that when you've just done the thing with somebody where it's like,
you have
whatever.
post-cum shame.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you
for
ever
sure.
heard of that?
No.
Oh,
So
yeah.
post-cum shame,
The
or post-ejaculation shame.
The
It's
the moment that it's done, the guy's just like, man, what am I doing?
fuck, why did I do that? Ugh.
Really?
Why?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man.
So there's literally moments where, like, you will be in bed with a woman, you'll be sleeping with her because you go into a different space mentally.
Yeah.
You go into a different space mentally. Let me
Yeah.
rock.
Go
Let
ahead.
me rock for a
Go
second. You go into a different space mentally. And you're trying to get to the point of whatever your fix is.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is you're into, you're trying to get to that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then you come.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't orgasmic. It was just an orgasm.
It was hollow. It was hollow.
So because of that, you sit, and now, after you've ejaculated and you let literally the seed of you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about if I have a pot of dirt and I put a seed in it. Yes. And then I take the seed out, and instead I put in somebody's energy. Nothing grows out of it, but it can decay from within. Yeah. So I literally wrote in my, because there was a girl in the gym today that was kind of following me around the gym. And I'm like, baby girl, get the fuck away from me. I'm trying to focus on my workout. Yes. And I literally wrote, so I, not only to remind myself, but like, don't chase good pussy. Sorry for the words, y'all, but I'm finna be hella honest.
Yeah.
Don't chase good pussy. It oftentimes leaves you with fuck shit soul. It could be some good pussy, but then you gotta sit down and fucking sift through the shit that's tied to your soul. Yeah? And that shit takes years.
Soul ties are truly,
Real
really
fucking
a
life.
thing.
Yes.
Because there is that energy exchange, and the fact is that now you've connected with this person whether you wanted to or not, and oftentimes you're putting yourself in somewhat toxic situations because you just kind of have two people trying to.
Because both of you are just fucking each other. Neither of you are actually being intimate. Both of you are trying to fix something that you feel is broken inside.
Right.
So
Yeah.
because of that, that's why the soul tie don't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you ever put your shoelace in and one shoelace be that long and the other one be this long, that shit not gonna have a bow. Yeah? That's really what it is. Yeah?
It's a mismatch for sure.
It ain't gonna work.
No.
Such a great way to transition into the next topic, which is self-sabotage.
Okay.
Yes? Self-sabotage is, in my opinion, a direct result of lack of accountability. Yes? I know throughout my career, I have done self-sabotage over and over and over and over and over in so many different areas, in so many different ways, whether it be with friendships, relationships, business relationships, even when it comes to like trying to push out content or trying to create consistency, my workouts, how I dance, who I want to dance for, what I wanted, like all of those things I have self-sabotaged over and over and over because of lack of accountability. And at this point in my life, I no longer want to self-sabotage. I only want to self-reflect so I can figure out where I'm not taking accountability so I can continue to grow. Yeah? Self-sabotage, I think, is the leading killer of human. The leading killer of human. Think about people who kill themselves. Think about people who drink themselves to death. Think about people that do drugs and then pass away.
Yeah.
Think about people that are in toxic, abusive relationships and that takes them out.
Yeah.
Think about people that race cars just on the street. You know what I mean? Think about people that put on those squirrel suits and go flying with no parachute. You know what I mean? It's all self-sabotage. You did that.
Yeah.
You did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think when it comes to self-sabotage, my question to you all is, where have you experienced somebody else's self-sabotage? Or how or what advice would you give an individual who's standing in the midst of self-sabotage?
I would say that it's important to understand that self-sabotage is a byproduct of unhealed places.
Say that one more time.
Like self-sabotage is a byproduct of unhealed places. So when we go back to accountability, starting with you, right? Which is why like I've become so passionate in learning about how trauma affects people. Because I would say if you peel back any issue that we're talking about, whether we're talking about Adolf Hitler or like anybody that you talk about in history, started with their childhood and their experiences and their woundedness and how that manifested into something. Yeah. In fact, I was braiding somebody's hair. Was it yesterday? Anyway, the other day, and they were talking about the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary and his childhood and how a lot of serial killers have a intertwining thread of abuse, neglect, abandonment. And it's not to say none of it is to justify what people do.
Right.
But instead, it's like, okay, if we really truly want change, if we really truly want something different, then we have to start being really honest about how people get to those points. Yeah. Instead of just being like, oh, well, this person is so horrible and they deserve to die and that's it.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, that's going to keep happening. It's just going to keep happening if you don't get to the source. And so self-sabotage, which you said, like all that is rooted into unhealed places. Yeah. And so what was
not taking accountability for the healing, I feel like.
Yes.
Because I feel like everybody who turns into a victim, they'll try to take accountability in like that extreme case with Jeffrey Dahmer. You take accountability by going the extreme opposite because you were abused, but it's not taking proper accountability. Correct. For what happened. You know, some people, when bad things happen, they shift their life to be like, I don't want to experience that, and I don't want other people to experience that.
Yeah.
And I also,
go ahead,
if you don't mind, I also think the worst things that happen to us are sometimes the greatest gifts that we've been given. And we have to take accountability for that.
Yeah.
Yes? And like, I think that sometimes we self-sabotage ourselves due to the fact that we're not willing to take accountability for the fact that our childhood built us.
Yeah.
Yes, like it's designed. Yeah, like I've gone through a slew of things, man. Like I was on the phone with my mom yesterday. Yeah, and it's like her mom passed, her son passed, her father passed, her niece passed, her best friend, which is my aunt, is in the hospital right now fighting for her life this year.
Wow.
This year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fucking lot. Yeah,
Right.
it's a fucking lot, man. It fucking hurts to know like my mom just thugging it out. You know, like yeah. Yeah. But and I will take accountability for those losses. I will. I can sit back and say, oh, woe is me because all of these things are not going as planned or all of these things have happened. Let me give me empathy and compassion because I need it. No, I don't need it. I do not need the empathy and compassion. What I need is individuals that press me the fuck forward for my purpose. Yes, offer me compassion and empathy when I fail, not when the world comes against me. That's how I feel. That's how I want to govern my life for a season.
Right.
Yes, for a season. I'm in that season right now. Yeah, I don't know what took me there. But yeah, I just think that we got to take responsibility and accountability for what does happen to us and it being a gift, not a curse.
Yeah. I think that comes back to when I was talking about the difference between allowing a victim mentality to rule you as opposed to taking accountability. Is I do think that I think every human being needs empathy and compassion in healthy doses. Yeah. Yes. And it's to say like, and to feel all the feels, to give yourself that space to do that. And then say, okay, now moving forward, right? Because I do know that, and this also happens with self-sabotage, when you don't sit with yourself. Yeah. When you don't allow yourself, a lot of issues happen with not fully because we are energy beings, and we have tear ducts to cry, right? Like that's a release, right? Like when you're angry, if you don't, going back to the things, like if you don't take the time to release those things, then it builds up, and then boom, subconsciously you're doing X, Y, or Z, and then you self-sabotaged because you didn't sit down and give yourself proper time, space, or intentionality to heal. Right. And so I think that's a very big thing that I'm going to keep reiterating is
stillness.
Yeah. Like actually, and speaking for myself, like, I mean, I moved here and like faith is a huge part of my life. I moved to LA because I know that God told me to come here. And it was with this understanding, I thought it was going to look like this. Right. And when I was in Arizona, I was so involved in so many things, leadership, et cetera, whatever. I was always doing for other people. Yeah. And I love doing that. Yeah. But then when God releases me to get here, it's the height of the pandemic, April 1st, 2020. Wow. And so I'm thinking I'm here to be with people. Right. And I'm by myself for a whole year. And on the hindsight looking at it, I needed that year to sit down and be away from where everybody knew me and away from responsibilities and away from titles and all that pressure to really sit and look within myself and allow God to like deal with me and some things that I thought I had already overcome. Right. That weren't truly there because I tried to press past them to be a good leader. Yeah. You know, it's like, well, I can't allow that to
stop me or get in my way.
Yeah. But and that's a huge thing is like nothing is ever going to go away if you don't deal with it. It might be 20 years down the line. It might be 60. It might be on your deathbed. It's going to come back if you don't deal with it. Point blank, period.
Yeah. That is a fact.
I agree.
Okay. If you guys are okay, I'm going to move on from self-sabotage into this last point. Yeah, we've been going for about an hour now. Yeah, so I want to make sure we get to this last point. But before we do that, can I do a quick exercise with y'all?
Sure. Let's do it.
And y'all do it with us as well. Stillness, yeah, that's because that's what we were talking about and having stillness. I do this at the end of my fitness classes, sometimes, not always. So if you could close your eyes. Mm-hmm. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose for 1, 2, 3. Hold that. This is a moment of stillness. That quiet you hear, that is you with you. Now release that audibly. One more time. Take another deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Hold that. What are you going through? Bring it to the front of your mind. Sit in stillness with it. That is stillness and setting an intention on what you're going through, release. Now, third time, take a deep breath in, hold that, keep that intention at the front of your mind, and now bring in the intention of healing. Now release. If you do that, if you do that continuously, you will find moments of stillness, and you will learn who to be with those moments of stillness. You will learn how to quiet the voices in the back of your mind. You will learn how to start talking to yourself about what healing is. You will learn how to start talking to yourself about what healing looks like and what path you have to take to heal. Yes? So I encourage everybody to breathe deeply through the nose for 3 seconds. Hold that breath and then audibly release. Yeah, that is a weight off your back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I encourage you to do that anytime that you're going through anything, or if you're just sitting there and you're like, fuck, I can't find nothing on Netflix or Hulu or Prime or whatever plus or that plus or every other plus and every other thing. Yeah, if you can't find anything, breathe. Yeah. And I just want to do that exercise real quick because it's changed my life. Yeah, quite literally changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Quite literally changed my life. And that was when I was 27, 32. That was when I was 27. I started to learn how to breathe and find stillness. There was a moment I was on the side of my mother's house, my brother and my mom's house, and I was drunk as fuck, crying to God about why do I feel this way? Why? And he just, stillness. Shut the fuck up. You feel this way because you keep complaining. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
That's what God said. So, moving on.
That's how he speaks to you.
Hey, he said, show up how you are, and I'm going to talk to you how you need. You dig? He made those words, not me. She hates me. She
I don't hate you.
Brimstone at me.
No,
Holy
I'm
water.
not.
You just have a very interesting dynamic with God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your conversations are very real.
I'd be on it with him like, blood, what are you doing? Yeah. And he'd be like, no, blood, what are you doing? So breaking free from old ways of being that keep your consciousness captive. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Call these shackles. Yeah? Church, when we went.
Yeah.
What was the pastor's name?
Jeremy.
White Cuz.
Wait, when did you go?
White Cuz.
David.
So David said, I forget. Let me go to my notes. Because I went to what church?
Fearless LA.
Where?
It's in downtown on Hope Street.
As it should be.
Right?
On Hope Street.
Damn, I didn't write down the verse, but he was talking about a verse. I don't remember what it was from. I think it might have been in Matthew. I'm not sure. But he was saying the shackles loosened.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, Paul, when he was in prison.
Boom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was so good. Keep going. Sorry.
No doubt. And he reiterated over and over that the shackles did not come off, but they loosened, and it was Paul's job to take the shackles off.
Yeah.
Paul got to take the shackles off. God will loosen them for you.
Mm.
So there's things that keep us captive, and God's already loosened it. We are not taking it off because what are we not doing? Shutting the fuck up and getting into stillness.
Yeah.
Yeah? Stillness allows you to say, oh, I got a shackle on my wrist. Take that off. Oh, I got a shackle on my foot. Take that off. But what doesn't allow that is the constant complaint of whatever isn't coming against you anymore.
I want to add to that.
Go.
It also can be because we don't truly trust God.
Boom.
And or we are more comfortable with the shackles being on because we're so used to it.
So we're used to being weighed down.
Yeah.
And here's another thing about shackles that some people don't think about is that shackles come in comfort.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of shackles that are just, it's comfort. People don't extend themselves because they're comfortable. They want to stay safe and they want to stay comfortable. They don't want to grow. So we've padded our walls and made everything very comfortable. Some people like their shackles on. I mean, I know for me, the self-sabotage and the lack of accountability made it very easy to go turn to drugs, and drugs makes it very easy to just want to have fun with it, and it was a comfort, even though I knew it wasn't doing anything to help me. It was a comfort because it just makes you feel a certain way.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. I know I was on set not too long ago, and there was a young man, and he is definitely shackled by Jezebel. Yeah, you know Jezebel spirit. You know the Jezebel spirit?
I feel like I've just recently heard it, but remind me.
Would you like to expand on that?
I mean, there's like it's like a deep thing, but I mean, a lot of it has to do with like lust and division. So
lust and division?
And division, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So basically, it's the spirit that comes in, and it's a female entity spirit, yes, that can force you into lust and divide the household, divide you as a man, divide you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's shackled to it.
Yeah.
Because everything that every girl, because these were not women. Yeah, these were girls, 21. Yeah, these are not women, they are girls. At 21 years old, you are not a woman, you are a girl. At 21, you are not a man, you are a boy.
Yeah.
Yes, like, I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't care what you've been through in the world. At 21 years old, you are not a woman and a man. You are a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
That is that. You got to grow still. Yeah. You just got the fuck out of high school. Like,
right.
You,
like, 21's really not that far off from 19.
You can't rent a car.
Mm-hmm.
You can't rent a car. Yeah? So that's how I feel. You might differ. Nonetheless, I think that it's important that we remember that, like, in my opinion, this is my perspective on the world and what I'm going to teach my children. Just because you've grown don't mean you grew up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, so these are girls, these young girls, and like, I don't know, when I look at a young girl that's that age, yeah, she could be hot.
Mm-hmm.
Nice body, pretty face. But then I go speak to her and she's talking to me about her class that she's in for college. Or she's talking to me about like spring break. I'm 32. How do you pour into me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How I'll get to that in a second. Anyways, let me go back to this man being shackled. Every conversation he had ended up being sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Everything, no matter who was around. So it was like, damn, bro, I just see how shackled you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because I think it's a product of probably his upbringing, and he's a highly attractive male. Yeah, like he's a highly attractive male. You know, nice bone structure, facial hair cut nice, body is right, a regular man height, you know what I mean? Tan skin, tattoos, holds himself as a masculine man, wears the little jewelry and shit like that. So like he's a highly attractive male, but he's shackled.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shackled. And that shackled, I was like, damn, bro, you don't understand. Your wife could be in this room and she's going to look at you and be repulsed because of the shackles you wear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about jewelry. Him and I talked about jewelry, right? And I was like, I don't really wear jewelry. He was like, yeah, you don't strike me as a man that wears jewelry. Well, Russell said, my ancestors wore chains, or my ancestors were slaves, so why the fuck would I ever buy a chain?
Yeah.
That's not 100% how I feel, but I do feel that I've been shackled by so many things.
Yeah.
What I need chains around my neck for? I'm over here trying to heal me. I'm trying to deshackle myself. Yeah. And it just is interesting to see him have 3 or 4 chains on and be shackled by the Jezebel spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just an interesting thing that I witnessed. What I was going to say is I believe, so let's say for anybody that doesn't believe Adam and Eve, right? Let's say Adam and Eve were real. Yes? Adam comes here. God's like, go, name everything. He's like, grass, grasshopper, bug, bird, tree, walnut. Yeah? And then he gets hella bored. And then he starts making up shit like hippopotamus. Yeah? So he's creating all these things. And he's hella bored. And God says, well, damn, like, I can't just leave him there. He's lonely. He's bored. So God takes his rib and says, let me make Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Makes Eve out of the man's rib.
Right.
Because Eve is made out of the man's rib, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what guards your, like, the most important organs for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes? She has the anointing to make you the man that you're supposed to be.
Yep.
The problem is, do we listen to her anointing? Yes? She has the anointing. She's there to pour it into you. But if you're not a purpose-driven man, right? And purpose-driven doesn't mean knowing your purpose. Purpose-driven means purposefully setting intention day to day so you can be a better man. She cannot pour into you. It's impossible for a woman with anointing to pour into you, which means she's also going to be repulsed by you because you don't have standards of a man.
Right.
You have standards of masculinity, but you do not have standards of a man.
Well.
I don't know if this was Farrakhan that I got this from, or if it was Les Brown or Dr. Miles Monroe, but this thought process was given to me from one of those individuals via YouTube. 27 years old. I went through a really, really hard time. Yeah, my girlfriend broke up with me and just was gone out of my life. Would not answer phone calls. Now in hindsight, I look back and it was the greatest thing she could have ever done because I had to sit in stillness. Yeah, if I was able to get her back on the phone, I would have been able to manipulate her and make me feel like she still cares. But in reality, she never cared. She did care. She had to walk away from caring because I never cared. Let me change that.
Okay.
Yeah, she did care. She had to walk away because she cared. And she was like, you're a broken man, now go fix yourself, fucker. Yeah, and that was her anointing. Yeah, but me trying to manipulate the situation and wanting her, I almost missed out on the anointing.
You wanted to feel better, seeking comfort.
Boom.
Yeah.
So, and then alcohol, all of the things, right? At that point, I started to research how to be a better man. And it's interesting because the Warrior book, Buddy did the exact same thing. I was fucking laughing out loud reading the book because he did the exact same thing. And I just started to research how to be a better man. And I came across the fact that, like, there's not too much out there to receive, to teach us how to be a better man. And I fell deep into T.D. Jakes and Dr. Miles Monroe. Miles Monroe the most, I would say. I even went into Farrakhan because I was struggling with my identity when it comes to being a black male. Or a mixed male, I should say. I was struggling to identify with my blackness due to the fact that I had been in such a Latin and Caucasian world for so long when it comes to my business. Yeah. Yes. So that's why I dived into the Farrakhan. Yeah. But also I wanted to dive into Muslim and understand that a little bit and just kind of get a better base. Long story short, long story long. While deshackling, women could be such a major role in our life. But it's not women, it's woman. One. Yes?
Yep.
And if you can't find the one that you can be intimate with, call your mother. That's what I do. I used to hop on the phone just because I want to talk. I want to talk through my stuff. Not realizing that every individual that I talk through my stuff with is an individual that walks away with a part of me that I could be giving back to the woman that birthed me.
Yeah.
She can know me better, but instead I'm out here getting to know women that ain't gonna be around forever. That's crazy.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's not to say that you shouldn't invest into other people, but obviously,
At
if
this
it's
age,
not,
I
if
would
it's not going to go anywhere, if you see that connection is not there, then obviously it's a waste of time.
Boom. So that I don't know. That was a kind of a rant, but Shackles. When it comes to Shackles, I think that my biggest shackle has been sex, women, and that whole situation. And it's probably because I was molested as a kid, and like that, you know what I mean. And everything was hypersexualized ever since fourth grade. One of my earliest memories is a pornography video. You know what I mean? So like I remember they had this metal pole that they would stick to the door to keep the door closed. Yeah. And then they would go and put pornography on and watch pornos in the middle of the night and teach us how to masturbate. And then that went from teaching us how to masturbate to come over here and now you masturbate me. And then that went from you masturbate me to come over here and put your mouth on it. Let me show you. Let me do it first. Yeah? So all of that. I'm in 4th grade, 5th grade. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Nah, I just want commend you on being able to talk about that out loud, because shame is something that I know keeps a lot of people from their healing process and helping other people heal.
Yeah.
Shame and vulnerability, especially, I feel like it's more of a struggle. This is an assumption, but I feel like it's a good assumption with men.
Yeah.
And 2 is not understanding, I think, with because obviously our world is over-sexualized, but even so with men, going back to what I said, a lot of conversation I've had with men, it's like, oh, well, sex is just sex. And that's a common, supposed to be like acceptable thing for men.
Yeah.
And so that's what's taught, that's what's experienced, that's like, and so I feel like there's this lack of truly understanding, like, yo, just because that's how you were brought up or that's what you were around or exposed to doesn't mean that that's what's healthy and what's good.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know?
We want our finances to change over time, soon in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we want everything else in the world to change over time except for how we have relations with women.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know? And thank you for commending me for that. It truly is something that I want to stand on now, but not live by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think even highlighting that more is going back to like my understanding, and I'm still very limited I'm just now starting to really dive into trauma and the research or whatever. But one of the aspects of trauma is people, they bury things. Mm-hmm. So I forgot what the terminology is called, but it's come out in the book, The Body Keeps the Score is amazing. Right. Recommend that. But it talks about, what the heck is it? It's just basically like, not false memories, but sporadic memories. So it's come up in a lot of court cases of sexual abuse where people will, say, well, I'm just now remembering that this happened to me. Yeah. And so people, in the beginning when that first started happening, people were like, oh, well, no, you're lying. Yeah. And no, it's an actual traumatic response from your body to keep you intact, where you completely forget. Yeah. But when something, so let's say you were raped and there was an orange candle. And then your body helps you forget it. 10, 15 years later, you smell the orange candle, and now you're starting to twitch for some reason, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" Yep. It's your body.
I have smells that I smell in the world, and it takes me back to that. Yep. Definitely.
And so then you start to be like, "Oh, what is that?" And then you start to remember little fragments here and there, and it's affecting you. And so that's why it's important to be still and deal with those things with. I'm a huge proponent for therapy, because if you don't, it does affect you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it will affect you, and it will keep doing it into a point where it becomes uncontrollable, and then you self-sabotage in XYZ.
Right. Yes. Because, I mean, honestly, how much more shame would it still be had if you didn't have the chance to really express it at some point? Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's not an easy thing, but the more that we don't express our shame in some way, the more that it does fester up, and then the slightest of triggers sets it off. Yeah. Like, you don't even have to be on a full press. Like, you can just be in the room. Trigger! Right. Exactly. It's literally like a hair just falls on it, and the whole thing explodes because you didn't take the time to deal with it.
And that was an example that was in the book, and I really wanted to share this because people are so quick, especially in communities of color, too. Like, oh, that is crazy. Yeah. Like, yeah. And what they're doing is crazy, but it's so much more.
We will believe that Jesus walked on water and that Moses split the sea, and like we'll say crazy to like things that happen in like regular day. Sorry to cut you off. Like regular day. Oh my God, that's crazy. But then we believe these like crazy stories. Yeah. And base our whole life off of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not to say what happened in biblical times was crazy. It was a different time. There was different energies. I think that there was more consciousness awake.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Than now. Mm-hmm.
Well, my point is, no, you're good. My point is that we're so quick to be critical of people, to label people crazy or evil or whatever, and not realizing that anybody at any given point, given the right space, the right time, will do things that you never thought you would do, right? Or be triggered into an uncontrollable state. And it's not, again, justifying what people do, because there are things that, and I've done them. I've done them when I'm highly triggered because I've had an anxious attachment style, where when my nervous system gets going, then I'm like compulsive in an aspect of like trying to reach validation or over-explain or, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just want to challenge people that instead of something we learned in life coaching was, instead of being critical, be curious. Ask why. Instead of saying like, oh, that is crazy. But why? What and for yourself, like when you catch yourself doing these things, why am I doing this? Where is this coming from? Yeah. What am I thinking subconsciously in my mind? Yeah. And it's easier said than done. It's a constant process. Even with this knowledge that I have, I'm still having to practice it. Yeah. Just the other day, I'm like, why am I entertaining this conversation? Why am I over-explaining myself? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not fully there yet. And we don't ever fully arrive, but it's committing to that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy.
Yeah.
with this
It's
conversation.
good. This is
Um,
good, guys.
I'm happy with this conversation. Yeah. Hopefully y'all enjoyed, because I would love to have K-Dot be with us regularly. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah.
I would love for her to be our female spokeswoman, not for women, but for her entity in the world. Yes. Today's a different one. Yeah. Accountability, self-sabotage, shackles. Yeah. Today, go look at yourself in the mirror. Understand. That's what I wanted to say when you were speaking. What reflects projects? Go look in the mirror and figure out what the fuck you're projecting.
Yes.
Because whatever is in that reflection is projecting.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. 100%.
That's a good ending statement.
Yeah. 100%.
And chase chicken, not cheeks.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Y'all have a good day.
That's a good
I gotta
way.
pee.
Chicken, not cheeks.